What's it like to celebrate the holiday season in France as Americans?
And how does it compare to the US?
That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Hi, I'm Raina.
I'm Jason.
I think my Texas accent just came out. We're Baguette Bound.
We've always loved the holiday season in the US. Loved it.
Oh, the whole kit and caboodle. Going to the tree lot, picking out the tree, seeing the nutcracker, parties with friends, peppermint mochas.
Christmas music all the time,
All the time.
baking with all the holiday spices, putting up Christmas lights all over the house, decorating gingerbread everything, all the holiday movies on repeat.
He's excited, can you tell?
I even worked at a Christmas tree lot while I was in high school, and I loved it. But this incredible season can also be exhausting and expensive.
Yeah, there can often feel like there are so many expectations, both your own and other people's.
Absolutely.
To meet.
You can't miss the corporate parties for your job because it's the place where you can bump into your boss's boss. You can make some new connections for the year.
Yeah, and then if you've got kids in school, there's a million things to do. There's Christmas pajama day, and then there's Christmas hat day, and then there's the school party to send cupcakes for, the money for teachers' gifts, the school fundraiser that you both need to figure out something to donate to, and you need to buy something from.
I did love Christmas Hat Day.
Oh, it's fun.
And this doesn't even include all the parties for extracurricular activities like the martial arts club, the choir group, the dance group, and the presents for all those instructors. Then we still have the neighborhood fundraisers to get to. You got Small Business Saturday, and then Giving Tuesday. You got to remember the charities for all your engineered donations.
Yeah, and then somewhere in all of this, an invitation shows up to the neighborhood cookie exchange where you bake 3 dozen cookies and you bring them. This is always the thing where I get the invitation and I'm all excited and I tell them, like, of course I'm going. And then the night before I'm like, I have to bake 3 dozen cookies now. I mean, even as we're talking through all of this, like, I'm flooded with both happy memories and I feel exhausted at the same time, even as I realize this was an incredibly privileged way to be able to celebrate Christmas.
It was, yeah. And I think this is maybe as a typical emotional roller coaster for a lot of people for the holiday season in the US. By the time you get through New Year's, you've had so many happy, wonderful moments, but you're exhausted and you're probably way, way over budget. This is our third Christmas in France now. So how does it feel compared to the US?
Like for me?
For you.
I think if I had to boil it down to one word, I would say it feels lighter. And I don't automatically mean better for me, but I'll talk about why a little bit later after we talk more about what it's been like in France.
Yeah, I do think lighter is a really good word for it. And we only have our experience, and we'd love to hear yours. But we think that this lighter feeling really comes down to maybe 3 big differences. The first one is that it feels like there are just fewer holiday obligations here in France. And what I mean by this is there are fewer demands on your time from all the very well-intentioned events that everyone else is planning, but they just need a little bit of your time and attention in order to pull it off. Yeah.
For reference, I mean, here in France, Juliana has 1 day at school with a holiday event, and it's a nice Christmas lunch. We've noticed that seasonal parties in general, especially work events outside of work hours, they just seem to be less common here in France. So I feel like it just leaves more time open for things that you get to choose to do instead of feeling like you have to do. I mean, even if I enjoyed a lot of these events very much, when they don't exist, I don't feel obligated to go when what I really want to do after a busy week sometimes is just make hot cocoa and watch super sappy Christmas Hallmark movies with Juliana. She loves them too.
That's nice. The second difference here is that there's less emphasis on gifts and decor here in France. First Christmas trees tend to be smaller and much less expensive. We've noticed that public decorations, whether they're the holiday lights hanging over the main street in the village or the gorgeous holiday store windows in some of the larger cities, these public decorations, they're probably more common than private ones. You'll definitely see some outdoor lights and on maybe even a few outdoor decorations on some homes. But typically, people just throw out a few strands of lights around a window or they loop a hedge and they're like, done! Hooray!
part of us wants to change that in our neighborhood. We're going to light our house up at some
Maybe.
point.
I don't know if it's a good influence or a bad influence, but when I actually get some plugs in this house, we're going to go crazy.
Yeah. Oh, modern electricity. We've also noticed that gift giving seems to be kept in a much smaller circle than in the US for Christmas. Maybe just immediate family or a few close friends. Gifts are often consumable goods like nice chocolates, a bottle of wine, locally made specialty foods. You'll find these big displays of these kind of items in the stores around this time of year for just this purpose. And of course, you might look for gifts at the local Marché de Noël. I don't know why I couldn't get that out. These are the Christmas markets that pop up all over France. They have beautiful and useful handmade goods often that are just awesome gifts. And I love that you never know exactly what kind of delightful or lovely thing you're going to discover at these markets.
Yeah, these Christmas markets, they are as incredible as you're imagining. You can show up, wander around, grab some vin chaud, do a little shopping, maybe grab a tartiflette for dinner. Just being there, it feels so festive, I guess, and it costs absolutely nothing to be there and soak in the experience. But you should definitely bring a few euros with you to try some vin chaud.
Yeah, and then take your glass back. Usually they'll refund like €1 or 50 cents. There's also sometimes like fun activities or an ice skating rink for the kids at these markets, at the bigger ones.
No joke. At the Christmas market in Colmar, there was an outdoor bar designed as a Christmas-themed carousel, and it actually spun around. So there we were, beautiful winter day, sipping mulled wine, slowly rotating around the carousel as Christmas music played while Juliana skated on the outdoor rink just next to the market.
Yeah, it's usually your kids going around on the carousel waving, but in this case, it was us waving to Juliana. These markets, they really feel like the main seasonal events of Christmas in France. You'll see small events, you know, at chateaus and things like that you can go to, but really these markets are kind of the thing that everyone does.
Yeah, the final difference is, I think in the US, the emphasis is on Christmas morning. Waking up, you're running into the living room to discover and excitedly open up your presents, and it's so much fun. That present opening ceremony, it's the highlight of the holiday, even if there's a really nice meal coming later.
Yeah.
But here, the reverse is true. The highlight of the holiday is a large, shared meal on Christmas Eve, even if there might be presents coming later.
What we've heard is that in most French families, this Christmas Eve meal can go on for hours, like more hours than usual for a French meal. And, you know, so everyone's around the table. There's lots of special courses, seafood, oysters, in this part of the country in the Southwest, Baguette, roasted meats, cheese, the bûche Noël for dessert. I think now one of my favorite things in France and at Christmas is actually shopping for this meal. This is completely opposite of in the US. I used to dread that, you know, that grocery shopping trip you have to make to get all the stuff for the Christmas dinner at the same time. Everyone else is doing that and you're like elbowing your way to the whipped cream and you got to make it to the fried onions before they're sold out because it's the only time of year anyone buys fried onions. I mean, the experience has been so different here of holiday food shopping. Because you go to the boucherie, the patisserie, the fromagerie, all the little shops that you usually shop at, but they'll offer special holiday items that you order ahead of time. It really is as quaint as it sounds. You're strolling through the village and standing in line, you know, to pick up your packages from all these little shops on the 23rd or the morning of the 24th. It really does feel a little bit like I'm in a French Hallmark movie in those moments.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And some families certainly do go to church on Christmas Eve, and the children may still open a few gifts on Christmas morning. But the heart of the holiday in France is gathering to share a festive meal on Christmas Eve. So, you mentioned earlier, while Christmas felt lighter in France, you didn't necessarily prefer it.
Okay, what I mean by this is, weirdly enough, this might be the one time of year that I kind of love the like over-the-top ridiculousness that the US can be sometimes with things. I mean, I love ending Christmas. Like, I'm so sick of it. I'm stuffed from Christmas. There's part of me that misses like the American Christmas hustle of trying to see all my friends of the season, go to all the events, bake all the things. That said, you know when you have a really nice meal and you feel satisfied, but you're not stuffed. It's like Christmas in France feels a little bit like that to me, where there's just more space to enjoy and soak up the season. And there's something really nice about that too.
Okay, yeah.
It just feels different.
Yeah, it's a little mixed for me as well. I do really miss the massive Christmas lights and the decoration displays that you'll see on some homes in the US, and some of those streets where everyone's doing it. Oh, they're amazing. But I think the Christmas markets here in France are just so enjoyable. I really can't imagine a season without them anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe what I love most about Christmas in France is that there are definitely similar traditions. So it definitely feels familiar here. But we get to decide how intense we want that season to be.
Yeah.
December isn't this pressure cooker of expectations and events. It's just festive, and there's time coming up where you're going to be off. And of course, the smell of vin chaud is in the air.
Thanks for watching.
A bientôt.